Hi everyone, I am Mrs. D. Priyadarshini, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science with Cybersecurity. Today we are going to discuss about Introduction to Cybersecurity. What is cybersecurity? The practice of protecting system or network and programs from the digital attacks. That is, it ensures the confidentiality, integrity and availability of information for the unauthorized person to hide or to protect the sensitive data from the unauthorized access or to control the financial losses of reputational damages in the face of cyber threats and attacks. We ensures the business continuity. The scope of the cybersecurity is to protect network infrastructure, securing software and applications, protecting data at rest in the transit, process and produces. The information and the application and operational security are the major type has to be considered for the cybersecurity. How we can protect our data from the unauthorized access or from the retrieval of information from the unknown networks. That's what we are going to discuss in the further slides. The fundamental concepts and the principles of cybersecurity is the three-tiered, that is confidentiality, integrity and availability. What is confidentiality? Preventing unauthorized disclose of information. And integrity ensures data remains unchanged and accurate. The availability depends ensuring system and data are accessible when needed. Say for an example, the confidentiality provides unauthorized access of information. That is, if I store my personal information in a computer or in my mobile phone, it should not be accessed by the others without my permission. Then integrity. It ensures the data unchanged in my database or in data store. Wherever I stored the data should not be changed when I retrieve. Then third one is availability. It ensures the system and data are accessible whenever I need. When I store an information in my data store, whenever I need, I have to access it. If these three is not working properly, then it leads to a cyber attack. These are the basic principle what or how we are going to protect the data from the unauthorized or intruders or attackers. The core security principle is defense in depth, least privilege and zero trust. The first one is defense in depth, that is multiple layer of security control has to be provided for the preventing unauthorized disclosures of information from the cybersecurity. The next one is last privilege, granting minimum necessary access. That is, even though when we are providing a permission to access our own data, it should be only in the mode of viewing, not in the mode of editing. If we provide such kind of an authentication to the person, the unauthorized may also access the same principle or a data to change or modulate the original data. The third one is zero trust. Never trust, always verify. Whoever it may be, we have to verify and ensure that it was an authorized person to access your own data from the devices. The following are the strategic principles: risk management, security by design and continuous monitoring are the three principal strategies for how to prevent data from the unauthorized attackers. The first one, the risk management, it identifies access and mitigating the risks. The second one is security by design, built-in firewall or built-in security from the ground up. Not at the maximum stage only in database, even in traveling, that is in during network or the transmission of data from the one device to another device. The third one is continuous monitoring, Ongoing assessment and improvement will provide this continuous monitoring during transmission or in the storage or at in your place of your access. The next is the mathematical functions which helps to ensure the security of the data, that is crypting basics, mathematical models and formula verification. The crypting techniques is a good old technique which ensures the data is not in a normal mode for the accesses from the unauthorized or might be intruders. The systematic encryption, asystematic encryption and hashing function are the three techniques which involved in the crypting basics. The systematic encryption is a single key for the encryption and decryption, whereas the asystematic encryption has provides a public and private key in a pair, whereas hashing function, that is one-way data transmission. Say for an example, when we type a password in a Google or for our own mail ID, the password is hidden. This is a single key of encryption. It was not shown, but when we click on to the eye of that taskbar, that is in the place where we are providing the password, it may be viewed, it cannot be changed. The next one is asymmetric encryption, that is a public and private key pair which provides both the sides, that is from the accessor or from the provider. We are providing the security for the accessing of our data. And third one is hashing function. This is one-way data transformation. Say for an example, the data is stored in the database. The data is not actually stored as a data. When retrieval, only the key access will be provided. The key might have the original data. When we unlock the key only, we can access the original data. The unlocking password is only with the sender, that is provider, who is the source or the primary investigator of the data. That person only has that hashing technique to decrypt the data whatever it is stored. The next one is mathematical model. It is a gaming theory which the statistical interaction between attackers and the defenders. The next one is probability theory. It risk assessment and threat modeling system which provides more security and strategy for how to stop the attackers. And the third one is information theory. The entropy and data security provides such kind of a facility for the service providers or for the data storage. Whoever is an unauthorized cannot be accessed easily the data from the data source. The third one is formal verification. It is a legal verification like an verify it is a robo or not, whether it is a human or not. Such verification is needed before entering into the data source, or might have the captcha to ensure that is the authorized person who is entering into the data source. Or model checking. The systematic exploration of the system states that it forms a tree structure to ensure the order is going to be in a legal format. The next is cyber threats and attack vectors. What are all the various stages where the attacks can be done? The cyber threats and attack vectors are the common type which we are using in our day-to-day life. The first one is cyber threats. It might be malware, phishing, social engineering and denial of services are the common threats whichever it is happening in day-to-day life. The malware is a ransomware, that is spyware, and trojan, that is worms, where they can able to inject into a data source and fetch our own data from the data store. The second one is phishing, that is email scam, spam, phishing and whaling are some of the features how they can unauthorized person can able to access the data. Third one is social engineering. Pretexting, bidding, trading, these are the threats how we are defending in day-to-day life. The fourth one is denial of service, that is flood attack, resource and exploitation, whichever it is ongoing in the process of the data transmission. During the network process, it may happen. How these can be protected? The common attacks can be of a SQL injection, XSS attacks, buffer overflow, password attack, man in the middle, zero-day exploits, IoT vulnerabilities, cloud misconfiguration. The first what we are going to discuss is SQL injection. That is, if we frame a schema or a structure, how we are going to store the data into data store, the attackers may change that structure even. The next one is XSS attacks. These attacks will change the data not in the schema but in the column or might be in a row. That is the next one is buffer overflow. When the data store is insufficient for storing our own data, it may lead to the overflow. The next one is password attack. This password attack, they may break the password security and they can get in. Then man in the middle. That is the intermediator, the investigator or whichever who is providing the process of security pass towards the intruders may have a hurdles or riddles towards to get into the data store. The next one is zero-day exploitation. The zero-day exploitation is nothing but when when the attackers are entering in the data source, they might not have any hurdles to enter into it. They can easily break the password or break the firewall. They can easily get into it. Then IoT voluminous. Nowadays, we cannot say that what are all the source of input we are providing. It might be Bluetooth or some other kind of an IoT devices which may access the data. So we cannot able to protect each and everything. It might lead to a cyber attack. The last one is cloud misconfiguration. That is when we are storing the data in a data store. Nowadays we are using very oftenly we are using cloud storage. The cloud service provider will not able to find it out whoever it is getting into the cloud storage and accessing the data whether in the mode of viewing or in the mode of modifications or updations. The next is cyber defense mechanism. What are all the mechanism and strategies which was followed for such kind of an attacks of a cyber? That is how we are providing security for the cyber attacks. The first one is defense in depth. Second one is zero trust. Third one is threat intelligence. Fourth one is detection. Fifth one is containment. Sixth one is recovery. And the seventh security process, network security, endpoint, and the last one is data protection. These are the various kinds of the defense mechanism we are providing how to secure our own data from the attackers. The next one is practical security techniques, which is a common tools which where it can be assessed. The first one is code analysis, second one is network scamming, third one is exploration, fourth one is web app testing, and fifth one is privilege exploration, and sixth one is man in the middle. That what we have discussed earlier. The current threats and the future directions, that is AI and machine learning provides more and more pattern recognition. That what's how we are providing the password for getting into our mobile phone. That is one of the mechanism how the machine reads our own patterns. The second one is cloud security, the sharing responsibility models and multi-cloud security strategies. That is, everyone can access the cloud access, but they can only access the data, not the source. Then next one is IoT security. Device authentication and supply chain is the most conscious things which where IoT is providing the security for the data. That is device authentication. When we are pairing, even for pairing the network or sharing the network from our mobile phone, they use a hotspot password. Such kind of security has to be provided for unauthorized access of our own data. The next one is quantum computing. Post-quantum and quantum resident. That is, we are going to encrypt or crypting the data whatever we are storing inside the system. These are a few of the current trends or the future directions how we are going to provide security for the data in the cloud storage. These are some of the summary points what we are going to conclude with what is cybersecurity is. That is interdisciplinary nature, continuous learning, defense in depth. These are the few key points how we are going to provide security and why we need of that security for the data. The top 10 cybersecurity best practice. The first thing is use strong password. Second one is implement multi-factor authentication. That is, we are not going to provide a single factor of authentication. We are going to provide multi-factor. That is, not only using the password, you can additionally have a captcha over there. Keep your software up to date. When we are using an older version, the attackers may use easily with an attacking virus where they can able to break up the firewalls. The fourth one is be aware of a social engineering attacks. Nowadays they are providing a small link to access our own data. So such kind of links can be avoided. And fifth one is back up your data very frequently. And the sixth one is use a firewall. Strong firewall is needed for any kind of data source, even in a cloud. Seventh one is encrypt your data. Each and every data, whatever you are storing in the database, has to be encrypted. Eighth one is educate your employees how to store the data and access the data with provided more security. Ninth one is implement cybersecurity frameworks. Tenth one is continuous learning, how we can able to avoid such kind of a cyber attacks and to provide a best source of a cybersecurity for the data stored in the cloud. Hope you understood all the concepts, what is cybersecurity and how it can be protected. Thank you.